concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I, of course, am Joshua Bardwell. You already knew that. And I'm very glad to be here with you guys. Just get to enjoy my God camera for a minute. See my messy room. You can always tell how busy I am by how many boxes are over there in the corner. And you can't see my workbench. But now you can. You can see my workbench behind me. Oh, what's up, FPV Arborist from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Oh, David Gregorian. If you arm your quad with the props off and the motors slowly go, that's completely normal. It's completely normal. I know it freaks you out and you wonder if your quadcopter is going to fly away when you actually go to fly it. Hold on, it wouldn't be a live stream without me just double checking that I'm centered up. You'd think I would do that before the stream, but somehow I always feel like I need to do it afterwards. I don't know, maybe it's a little OCD thing. David, what happens is that when the props are off, the quadcopter tries to fly itself, and since there are no props, it just gets confused, basically, and the motors spin up. It's completely normal. It doesn't mean anything. You can totally ignore it. If you arm the quad with the props off and the motors go, then something might be wrong. But if they just kind of go, then it's actually pretty normal. You probably can just put the props on and go hover. The first time you do a hover test, make sure you do it somewhere safe. Stand back in case it flips out. Don't do it in your frickin' kitchen or your living room, you frickin' idiots. Sorry, that was a little too strong. Don't. Hey, Bardwell, my quadcopter is it's doing something weird. The motors are freaking out. Hang on, let me send you this video showing you. And it's a video of somebody's freaking living room. Right? Well, I didn't have anywhere else to test it. Yeah, okay, but find somewhere else to test it. Don't test it in your living room, especially if you know it's having a problem. That's how you get holes in the ceiling. He said, looking up at his ceiling for no reason. Oh, my goodness. That's what we're going to do today, folks. That's what we're going to do today. I'm going to be taking your questions, and I'm going to be answering them, and we're going to go do that for a couple hours. That's pretty much it. Like, for example, these beautiful people over here on the left. These are the plebs. The plebs. The normal people. They call themselves plebs, but I'm going with it. I'll be taking questions from the plebs, the plebeians in the regular chat. I mean, crazy runaway problems on a new 5-inch build, Joshua Kurmai. Joshua Kurmai, if you're having runaway problems on a new build, hang on. The answer is too long, but check this out. Watch this. Watch this. Ready? Boom! I have a macro for this. This is the answer. Hang on, let me zoom it in. And you can... There it is. Okay, just you, Joshua Kurmai. Freeze frame. Pause the video. I will see you back here for the live stream. If you're having runaway problems, these are the things to check. Okay? It's so common that I literally have a macro that I type to type the answer out. All right. Boom. Done. Answer question answered. See? Just like that. And over here on the right side of my screen, these beautiful people are my patrons over in my Discord server. And if you would like to join my Discord server, you can become a patron. There's a link in the video description. If you're new here, wait till the end of the stream and see if you feel like I'm worth $2 a month. My mom says I'm worth $100 a month. And I said, Mom, I really appreciate that, but I checked my patrons list and you're not there. And she said, never mind. That's a little, I don't want to get personal. Speedy Turtle says my Discord is awesome. It is pretty awesome. I have to say, my Discord server has officially I'm awesome. Like, I think we all agree it. And so I started a Discord server, and of course it was awesome because I was there. And then a whole bunch more, apparently I attract awesome people because a whole bunch more awesome people got there. And I was like, sweet, I'm hanging out with all these awesome people. And then more people kept coming and more people kept coming. And it's at the point now where I actually cannot keep up with all the conversations going on in my Discord server. My first priority is always to answer DMs, right? So I answer emails, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, Discord DMs. And then when I've answered all my DMs for the day, I go look and I see like @mentions in the Discord server. But there's conversations going on I can't keep up with. And I was, for a while, I was like, oh, crap, I'm not keeping up with my own Discord server. Oh, no, I'm letting everybody down. But then everybody else was so awesome. They're all answering questions. They're all being helpful. I'm like, oh, geez, this is a great Discord server. So, just saying. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're not here to talk about how awesome I am. In the chat. We're here to answer your questions, and that's what we're going to do. What's a Patreon, Les Kira? Click the link in the description below, www.patreon.com. It's a service where you can support me for a couple bucks a month and basically help me pay my bills. So, also, let me, one more thing, and then we will get back to answering questions. We've talked about how awesome I am. We've talked about how you should give me money. One more thing, super chats, $, right down here at the bottom of the chat. Hit the $, leave a super chat. If you want to make sure that I get to your message, like if you just like, shut up, Bardwell, answer my question. That's how to do it. I'll read the super chats in just a minute. Thank you to these folks. I will get to you in just a minute. But let's get some questions out of the way first. Niku FPV in the Discord server asks, what's special about air mode? Can I just go and do idle up instead and turn off air mode? Air mode and idle up are not exactly the same thing. They both have the effect of stabilizing the quad at low throttle, but they do it in a slightly different way. And some people feel like one is better than the other. Air mode is kind of what most Betaflight people use because it's just kind of there. You don't have to do anything special to make air mode work. But some people do prefer idle up. What air mode does is when you go down to low throttle, the motors can speed up a little bit, but they can't go any lower. The motors are at idle. Okay? And so if you try to move the quad, there's only so much authority that the quadcopter can get, because the set point of that the motors are at is not allowed to change, and therefore the motors can't speed up or slow down very much. Because when the motors speed up, let's say you're going to rotate the quad to the left. They were talking about air mode here. You're going to rotate the quad to the left along the roll axis. Well, 2 of the motors speed up and 2 of the motors slow down by equivalent amounts. But if the motors are already at idle, then 2 of the motors can't slow down anymore. And the 2 motors that speed up can't speed up very much because they're trying to sort of maintain that set point of 0. And so you have very little authority at low throttle. When you activate air mode, it lets the PID controller or the mixer raise the set point even though your throttle is all the way down. So it can sort of get more throttle. The downside of air mode, there are other things that air mode does in the PID controller. It's not just a mixer change like I just described, but basically you get more authority at low throttle. But the downside is that especially if you like do a perch while you're armed, the mixer is going to be and the PID controller are going to be so kind of hyperactive that when you try and land or perch the quad, it kind of hops and bounces. And some people don't like that. Some people also feel that air mode increases the idle speed, and so you don't get as much, you can't get as like circular or axial rolls. You're pulled off axis more. The alternative is idle up. And the reason I don't personally choose idle up is idle up simply arbitrarily raises the set point and leaves it there. So idle up is like air mode can raise the set point a little bit if it feels like it needs to. Idle up just raises the set point all the time. Well, it seems like idle up is like it's better to have a low set point sometimes. Anyway, that's my take. You could try both. They're not exactly the same, but they do have the same effect of increasing stability at low throttle. Woof. With air mode, you'll have yaw authority at 0 throttle too. You always have yaw authority at 0 throttle, don't you? I'm missing something there. Is it possible to disable the PID loop command on a switch to have 100% throttle instead of 98%? I'm not sure I understand that question. You can't disable the PID loop, though. Yeah. Urban 2006, thank you for being a patron in the Discord server. The Insta360 1R 4K edition is $300 USD, and the Insta360 website. Is it a good action cam for FPV, or should I go with GoPro? Urban 2006, I have a review of the Insta360 1R. I'm sure you must have seen it, but I'm going to link it. I think it has potential. And I said that the Insta360 1R, hang on, I'm going to give you the link to the review. I'll paste that in the chat as well. I said that the Insta360 1R was better than the GoPro Max. Now, don't judge. I'm going to play a little bit of this video on stream. Don't judge the video quality by what you're seeing right now. In fact, kind of don't judge it based on the YouTube. That's at 2.7K. I'm streaming this at 1080 and a low bit rate. So what you're seeing right now is not really representative. And frankly, even the YouTube video, even though I uploaded it in 4K, is not 100% representative. But it's, you do what you can. I think the Insta360 1R is better than the GoPro Max if you're looking for a 360 cam. If you're looking for a straight action cam, it's a little trickier. I do think a GoPro is a better straight action cam, but the Insta360 1R is more versatile because you can get a combination 360 cam and 4K action cam. And I also think if you look at these not this footage, if you look at this footage right here, this is the 360 cam, but it's been set to a wide field of view. And this is a wider field of view than you could get with a GoPro, even with Super View on. And I think it's a really interesting look. Take a look. It's not for everybody, but I think it's a really interesting look. So for somebody who wants a combination 360 cam and action cam, or a decent 360 cam at a decent price, I think the 1R makes a lot of sense. If you want a pure action cam, a GoPro is better. Even something like a Hero 7, a refurbished Hero 7 you can get for less than $200, I think is going to do better. But especially if you're looking for a 360 cam as well, the Insta360 1R is a great choice. Yeah. The image quality is not quite as good, but the workflow is very good. The image quality is okay. The stabilization is quite good. You can't beat a GoPro for image quality, though. Let's see here. Joshua Kermai says, I've checked all of the things you listed. I think it's a bad gyro. I mean, a bad gyro... A flip out is usually a configuration problem. I hate to say it, Joshua Kermai. So many times when people are having a runaway flip out, they tell me, oh, I've checked all those things. And then we go through it one by one, and it turns out they missed one. When you say you've checked all those things, I tried to write these instructions extremely precisely. Go to the setup tab, tilt the quadcopter, blah, blah, blah. Raise the sliders, check the graphic. I try, because a lot of times people go, oh yeah, I checked the motor direction, it's fine. And I'm like, did you check the motor direction against the graphic? Or did you just check it based on your memory of what you think the motor should be doing? So I definitely would say double check each of these things exactly as described. If you have a bad gyro, usually the quad will fly, but it will not, it'll twitch a lot. Usually a flip out is not caused by a bad gyro. So I hate to say it, Josh, but I think the retailer who's pushing back on you is probably right. I mean, I can't know for sure. They're pushing back on you because you've decided you have a bad gyro, but what you're describing is not typically how a bad gyro manifests. A bad gyro will not act like a runaway flip out. It will take off and just go. This is from my one-man show. I'm releasing an album of Joshua Bardwell makes quadcopter noises. Yeah. Oh, Ciati's in the chat. For those of you who are wondering, Ciati will be streaming today at 3. He did not stream last weekend, and everybody missed him, I know. So we got a ton of super chats coming in. Let me get some of these super chats out of the way. Keith Moore wants to know, is using SBUS mode on Ghost any different than using an XM Plus? Does the flight controller get the same inputs from both? Keith, SBUS is SBUS. There is fast SBUS, and if you have Ghost and for some reason you need to use SBUS, use fast SBUS instead. It just reduces the latency. There's no downside. Ghost DJI originally implemented fast SBUS, and Ghost has implemented it as well. From the flight controller's perspective, I don't think there's any difference between SBUS on Ghost and SBUS from an XM Plus. Leah Mia, thank you for a $5 super chat. No message, just $5. Thank you, Leah. I assume it's Leah because your name is Leah Mia. So I always try and pronounce people's names correctly. Chris P. Kiting. I've been binge watching a lot of your content, and I'm just in the process of ordering the Xylo JB edition. Looking forward to the build. Thank you for £5. Chris, I hope that build works great for you. I'm always super thankful and humbled when people buy the JB Xylo budget build and they live overseas, because the shipping is really expensive, and so you must have really wanted it, and I hope it goes really well for you. Shit, FPV, thank you for $5. You helped me fix my VTX issue. I love, I love, thank you. And then you used, Cheat FPV used the crying laughing emoji. My wife told me today that if you use the crying laughing face emoji, you are old, that the kids don't use the crying laughing emoji anymore. So if you care about that, boomers, you need to retire the crying laughing emoji. And I said, well, what are the kids using instead? And she's like, I don't know. So kids, if you're out there, those of us who like to, it used to be that if you were getting older and you kind of wanted to act like you weren't as old as you are, you dyed your hair, right? Nowadays, I just need to keep up with what emojis are cool. So kids in the chat, if you're a young person watching, will you please let me know if I was going to use the crying laughing emoji, what would it be? Is the crying laughing emoji laughing so hard that you're crying? Or is it that you're crying and laughing at the same time? Now everybody's crying laughing emoji in the chat. So David Gregorian, the first hover test, the motors slowly go to 100%. Any fix? Again, David, so you arm the quad with the props on, right? You arm the quad with the props on, and the motors begin to speed up. Now, I don't think the quadcopter will take off. What is it? What happens? It's normal. It's not unusual that you arm the quad and the motors begin to speed up a little bit. But what happens if you raise the throttle? Does it take off and hover? What does it do? We got to know. Most of the time, if you arm the quad and the motors begin to spin up a little bit, it's not abnormal. There are various things that could cause it. Excuse me. Under beta flight, the motors should not begin to spin up very much with the props on, because air mode doesn't become enabled until you raise the throttle. And air mode is what will make the quadcopter motor spin up. Skull emoji. How is the skull emoji the same as the crying laughing? That doesn't make any sense. Someone explain it to me. For example, if you're in auto level mode and the accelerometer is miscalibrated and you arm, the quad will try to level itself, and that can cause motors to speed up, for example. We really just got to know. We got to know what is happening when you raise the throttle to really analyze this. Tracer, what's going on with the Tracer range test? So I am working on my review of TBS Tracer versus Ghost. This is a situation where I'd rather get it right than get it out quickly. I know that people are waiting for it, and I'm definitely going to miss the boat and lose views and lose affiliate sales because I've taken so long to get it out. I'd like to point out I did not get a pre-review version of Tracer from TBS, so I had to wait to buy it, which meant I waited a month after release before it was even in stock. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining why it isn't out yet. I've decided that to do a proper range test of Tracer and Ghost, I can't just do what I normally do for my 2.4. Like when I test a FreeSky or a Radio Master, I just kind of walk down the road. The range on those guys is not so much that I feel like there's a couple trees, who cares? I think you can tell which one's getting better range. But for something like R9 Tracer, you really need to be able to test them under long-range flight conditions. And that's just not something I'm able to do. I talked in the past live stream about, could you rent a helicopter? Could you get a powered paraglider to take them up in the air? Because then, at least it would be legal. The FAA doesn't want you doing beyond visual line of sight. I am actually talking to some people who do long-range flying. And I don't know. Is it legal? Does the FAA care? I don't know. I'm not asking questions. I'm just asking if they can help. People who fly long-range wings, and seeing if I send them the gear, could they do some range testing for me? Obviously, it has to be somebody who you could trust that's going to do solid work and, give you good results. But these are the kind of things I'm trying to do. But I'm not going to release a range test that I can't really stand behind, especially it's really important to get these results right. So, any plans to test Express LRS, Garter rotor? Yes, I would like to have Express LRS be in this range test, for sure. Continuing the super chats. What's the best website for the best FPV parts? Thank you, Speedy Turtle FPV. Thank you for the super chat, which is a blatant excuse for me to plug my website. Since it's a super chat, I will very briefly plug my website, fpvknowitall.com, which contains the ultimate FPV shopping list, which has all my product recommendations. We update it about once a month and add new products that have come out in the last month that are worthwhile. Not every worthwhile product, but try and have some of the best. Victor Cordero, thanks for a $15 super chat. Wait a minute. There we are. Can a flight controller be used to help keep an RC car going straight at 80 miles an hour? Interesting question, Victor. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think a flight controller would be very good at keeping a car going straight. Because, like, with a quadcopter, the flight controller uses the gyro to keep the quadcopter from rotating. But in order to keep a vehicle going straight, you typically need some frame of reference like a GPS. In theory, you could integrate the gyro and you could use an accelerometer. If you think about it, if the car begins to drift to the side, an accelerometer will show some drift. So in theory, you could use an accelerometer and a gyro to keep a car going straight. But it feels to me like maybe there would be too much vibration to make that very useful. However, I know for a fact that there are some RC drift cars that have an accelerometer built in, and they will automatically kick the rear end out and drift the car. And somehow they do that with an accelerometer and a gyro. I don't know how they do it. So in theory, maybe you could straighten a car out and help, and maybe make it go straighter. But it feels to me like it would be hard for that to be very effective without some external reference like GPS or image processing. But I could be wrong. That's really not an area of my specialty, to be honest with you. Could a flight controller be used to do it? Seems like no. They're not really made for that. They're not without custom code. David M.E. says, Joshua, shipping the shirts, which are for sale, is free. That sentence, I'm sorry, that sentence doesn't parse for me. I don't understand that sentence. So I can't answer it. Shipping the shirts. Speaking of shirts, I should pin this to the moon shirt at the top of the chat so you guys can check that out. Apologies, but I don't understand that question, David. Mike Bergman, thank you for $5, Mike. Aren't you helping Ciotti with his BattleBot? I feel like I'm being trolled. I think I heard that Ciotti is making a BattleBot. I'm not opposed to helping Ciotti with the BattleBot, but I'm not really a part of it. I don't know anything about it, really. So I guess the answer is no, not at this time. Aerospace Inc. 53, thanks for $10. Super chat. Video goes to static randomly. Swapped out the VTX, no change. So if your video goes to static, it means your video transmitter lost power. That's almost always the answer. So then you would want to ask yourself, did the whole quad lose power, or did just the video transmitter lose power? So let's think this through. If the whole quad lost power, then the ESC would shut down, the flight controller would shut down, and the motors would shut down. And when it comes back, you would hear doot-doot-doot, doot-doot, wouldn't you? That's what the ESC does when it powers down and back up again. So if you've got a GoPro on the quad and you lose video and you hear in the GoPro doot-doot-doot, doot, it means that like your whole XT60 Maybe you got a loose XT60 connector, or your battery is damaged, or your ESC is damaged, and your whole quad is losing power. Okay, next step. What if the flight controller lost power? And since the VTX is powered off the flight controller, the VTX shut down, but the ESC is fine. Well, the motors are still going to stop, because when the flight controller goes down, the motors stop. But you would hear doot-doot, but you would not hear doot-doot, doot-doot, because the doot-doot that the ESC makes is when it first powers up. And then the doot-doot is the flight controller coming online. So if you hear doot-doot, doot-doot, that means your flight controller went down, but your ESC did not. Now, if you lose video and the video comes back and you don't see the Betaflight logo in the OSD and your flight time is still counting up, it means the flight controller did not reboot. It means just your video transmitter shut down. And at that point, you probably have a problem with a regulator powering the video transmitter, or maybe the power wire. So what you suggest, Aerospace Inc., is exactly what I would suggest. If you say, should I try VBAT instead of 5 volts? Be careful. Most all 5-volt video transmitters cannot be run off VBAT. They can only be run off 5 volts. If you had a 7 to 26 volt video transmitter that you were running on a 9-volt regulator, then I would say move it to VBAT. But I'm going to guess if you have a 5-volt video transmitter and you move it to VBAT, you'll fry it. Check the specs on it. But I do think it's likely that it's the voltage regulator, the 5-volt regulator, that's going down. For example, if you have a 1 amp 5-volt regulator and you're trying to run a TBS Unify Pro that's putting out whatever 600, 800 milliwatts, that could, in combination with all the other, the camera, the receiver, etc., overload the 5-volt regulator. So maybe find another 5-volt regulator or find another video transmitter that you can power from VBAT. In my opinion, I usually prefer to power my video transmitter from VBAT to avoid this very issue. The guys who do the lightest, tightest builds all like to use 5-volt video transmitters because they're smaller. But you got to know that the 5-volt regulator on your flight controller is rock solid. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a situation like this. Chris Cameo, thanks for $5 super chat. Your new videos with UAV tech are great. Can you talk about what to look for when pushing filters up? What motor sounds should I look for? The first thing, and UAV tech agrees with me on this, the first thing to do when you're PID tuning is to push the filter sliders as far to the right as you can get away with without causing bad things to happen. Your ultimate goal is to get them all the way to 2.0. Now, not every quad can do this, but that's where you want to be. What do you look for? You look for, number one, hot motors. Now, if it's the middle of winter and it's freezing cold out, hot motors probably aren't going to happen because the ambient temperature is so low. So what other things can you look for? Signs of flyaway. If you raise the throttle and then lower the throttle and the motors kind of surge and don't want to come back down, your filter sliders need to come back to the left. You got too much gyro noise and the quad is at risk of flying away. I call it a trilling oscillation sound when you raise the throttle. It's kind of like a sound. Again, that's track number 7 on my new album, available on Spotify. Joshua Bardwell makes quadcopter motor sounds. A trilling oscillation is like normally when you raise the throttle to full and the motors go, but if they go, this is the best I can do. That may mean that the filter sliders are too far to the right. Usually that will be accompanied by hot motors. But again, if it's the middle of winter, maybe it wouldn't. So those are some of the signs that you need to stop. Okay? All right. Moving your filter sliders to the right. Ryzix FPV, thank you for 10 bucks. Is there a 5-volt pad that gets power from USB on the Stonks XE F405, or am I stuck using a 3.3-volt pad for Crossfire Nano RX? Will the Nano RX power off of 3.3 volts? I don't know if there's a 5-volt pad that gets power from USB on the Stonks XE F405. Not off the top of my head. I'm going to guess that I mean, you just plug it into USB and get your multimeter out, right? Easy peasy. Test with the multimeter. Test all the 5-volt pads and see if one of them's outputting 5 volts. What's the input voltage rating for the Crossfire Nano RX? I think it's like 4 to 5.5 volts, but I'm not sure. And I'm not seeing it on the product page. If anybody can tell me in the chat, let me know. I mean, it may power up from 3.3 volts, but if you're under the rated voltage, it may not actually fully function. So be careful about that, Ryzex. Chronic Labs, thanks for a $5 super chat. We are still just working our way through the super chats. We're almost done, and then we'll go back to answering everybody else's questions. Chronic Labs, thank you for $5 Canadian. VTX not showing the Betaflight tab. Smart Audio won't change anything. It's a new flight controller for the Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. VTX's unlocked video does work. The Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle, does that have a built-in video transmitter or an independent video transmitter? I think it has an independent one. Let's see. Here's the flight controller. What is this? This is a manual. Okay. Well, maybe we can see what we need to see. Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. Does it have a built-in video transmitter? Let's see. Yeah. So the video transmitter is independent, so you could be using Smart Audio. The first thing that you need to do is look in the video transmitter tab and see whether you have device ready yes in the video transmitter tab. If that's not set, then either the wiring is wrong, and in this case, you know the wiring's not wrong because it just plugs right into the flight controller, or the ports tab is set up incorrectly. So maybe you disabled the Smart Audio in the ports tab. Let's take a look in the manual and see if they show us an example of what the ports tab should look like, perhaps. I'm just looking to see if they show us the ports tab. It doesn't look like they're going to. That's unfortunate. I thought we might get lucky. So we don't know off the top of our head what UART that should be. Here's the manual. Here's the pinout for the... Can we tell by looking at the pinout? USB, SBUS, UART, boot button. Well, I don't think they've documented the plug here for the VTX. That's unfortunate. I don't have an answer for you there. You definitely, I mean, it should just be set, but maybe you upgraded the firmware, changed it, and it's not set. But I think you need to go into the ports tab and enable Smart Audio for whichever port the VTX is on, and that's my guess there. Chronic Labs. Alex, thanks for a $5 super chat. Just getting into FPV. I'm building an UMA 95 to learn. I want the long-range Flywoo F4 later. Does the DJI radio suit those needs, or should I get a radio for Crossfire or Ghost? Alex, I have a video talking about that decision. Hang on. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give you a link to the video as well. Here's my video about the DJI controller, Alex. The short answer is that the DJI controller is good build quality. DJI doesn't make crap hardware. And it is very, very easy to use with the DJI system. Just bind it to the Air unit or the Vista and sort of, boom, it works. It's actually really simple to set up. And when you use the DJI controller, all of the configuration of the controller is done in the goggles. So it's super easy. However, it doesn't have all of the functionality you might want. Like OpenTX is so programmable. You can do so many things with it. The DJI controller, basically like you flip a switch, you can move an aux channel, and that's about it. So some people would prefer OpenTX. The other thing is Crossfire, Ghost are going to have longer range. Than the range on the DJI controller is pretty good. You can get out 3-4 kilometers, maybe more. But something like Crossfire or Ghost is going to have more range. And you might say, well, look, if the video is only going to go 2 to 4 kilometers, who cares about the control link? But I think that a lot of people, what you want is you want the control link to have 20 kilometers of range. So you never have to think about fail-safe in control. You only have to think about the video. If the control link goes 4 kilometers and the video goes 4 kilometers, then you're constantly thinking, which one am I going to lose first? And it's just two things to juggle. So a lot of people choose to use a long distance control link, even though their video maybe only goes 1 or 2 or maybe 3, 4 kilometers, because it just means you can forget about worrying about fail-safing your control link. Not entirely, because like stuff still breaks and goes wrong. You still have to like check, oh, is my RSSI? But you check and you're like, yeah, my RSSI looks good. Okay, I'm just going to fly. My personal approach is to use Crossfire or Ghost. Finally, we have Droidnauta. Droidnauta. What do you think of FetTech? Would you do a review of FetTech build in the future? Thank you for 100 pesos, Mexican pesos. That's going to be our last super chat for the time being. James M., I saw your super chat just come in, but we got to draw the line somewhere. I will get back to it in just a little bit. Droidnauta. FetTech is very interesting. FetTech's ESCs are some of the best you can get. I think they don't work well with Betaflight, by which I mean it's not easy to do firmware updates and so forth if you're not using a FetTech or a KISS flight controller. So I feel like if you're going to use FetTech ESCs, you're going to also want to use the FetTech flight controller, which is not for everybody. But they make great stuff. Would I review or do a FetTech build in the future? I did review the Mr. Steel KISS. I guess that's not FetTech, that's KISS, but I have a FetTech flight controller ready to put in that quad, but I just haven't gotten around to installing it. But I got a lot of respect for what those guys are doing over there. They make great stuff. Okay. Let's get some more chats now. Just from the plebs. All you normal folks. You regular folks. Let me get down with the people. Hold on a second. Hang on a second. Here we go. Okay. Now I feel like one of you. Oof. Wiseation, do you know which port to connect the Unify Pro 32 Nano to on the Tiny Trainer V2 F405 flight controller? Which flight controller? Is that the Beta FPV? Which flight controller is... Because there's several different flight controllers that people are using on the Tiny Trainer, but there's like an official one that's being shipped with the FPV Crate kit. By the way, if you want to build a Tiny Trainer, this is a great way to do it. This kit comes with everything you need. You obviously can source the parts yourself. Well, you're probably going to use the 533 motors. You're going to use obviously the 533 frame. So at a certain point, you go, screw it, I'll just buy this kit. $250 from FPV Crate. I'll buy, what the hell? I will put let me put that's my affiliate code, in case you're wondering. It's an affiliate link. In order to keep honest with the Federal Trade Commission, I'm going to disclose that, but I'm going to paste this in the chat if you want to check it out. And so what flight controller are they using? I think it is the Beta FPV. Yeah, so this is the Beta FPV F405. Pre-release. Stop. So this is the flight controller that I believe they're using. Let's see if we can get an image of it up. So where does the camera and the video transmitter go? It's got to be here, right? So if we look right here, we've got 5-volt ground in and out. I'm going to guess that is video in and video out. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Video in would come from the camera. Video out would go to the VTX. So then right next to here, there's T2, T6, and R6. So my guess is that T2 is intended for use with the video transmitter for smart audio. That's why they put T2 right here next to the video in and out. So my guess is you would wire the smart audio or the data wire from the Pro 32 to T2, and you would use UART2 for smart audio. Yeah. Ryzex, thank you very much for following up on your previous question. Ryzex is reminding us, we were talking about the TBS Nano RX. It looks like the Nano RX is rated for 3.3 volts to 8.4 volts. In that case, you can power it from 3.3 volts. Yep. And that's a very clever way of getting it to power up from USB, since the 3.3 volt regulator is always going to power up when plugged into USB. The 5 volt regulator usually doesn't output from USB because they don't want to power up like LEDs or video transmitters off of USB and pull too much current. So that's a really clever thing to do. You want to be a little bit aware, Ryzex. Just be a little bit aware that, like, if your 3.3 volt regulator is actually putting out, 3.2 volts or something, maybe the Nano RX, since you're running it right at the bottom of its range, could run into problems. So if you have problems with fail safes or problems with you can't get it to bind, I don't know, if weird stuff starts happening, consider moving your Nano RX to 5 volts and see if that fixes it. Craig Johnstone, 87, in the chat, in the YouTube chat. Which would you recommend for someone new investing in their gear, Tracer, Ghost, or Crossfire? This is a very hard question to answer. In fact, I have started a chat with a couple of smart people. Where is it? What the frick? I've started a chat with a couple of smart people to break down some of the differences, the pros and cons. Why has nobody added anything about FreeSky? The pros and cons of these different control links. And we're going to make a video about this. But let's talk about that question, because I do think it's a very interesting question. Here's what I think makes Ghost stand out the most. Ghost seems like it can give you everything you could possibly want. Here's what I mean by that. You want to do 60-kilometer long range? Ghost has a long range mode. It's only like 15 hertz update rate. I'm doing that off of memory. I could be wrong, but it's a very low update rate, high latency. But for long range, who cares? You're freaking 400 feet in the air. Not more than 400 feet, right? You're high up in the air. All you need to be able to do is maintain control and maybe trigger return to home. Ghost has all the way through from long range to pure race mode, which is 250 hertz. And Ghost even has a tracer-like mode that's in development. It hasn't been released to the public yet, but it's coming. It's being tested right now, which is 250 hertz with telemetry, exactly like Tracer. So in theory, Ghost could give you anything you could possibly want. So obviously Ghost is the right choice. I feel like the guy from Princess Bride. Aha, but you knew I would tell you Ghost was the right choice. So clearly I cannot pick the RF module that is in front of me. Aha, but wait. Some people would argue, who cares if you need to go 60 kilometers? All you really need to do is outrun your video. I can't help but do the rest of this bit in a bad impression of the Sicilian from Princess Bride. I'll try not to. And some people would say Tracer, especially now that Tracer can go up to 1 watt, which they've unlocked that in firmware. Tracer can easily get 3 or 4 kilometers of range, so they say. At which point, who cares? Someone's editing. Who is editing? Someone's editing this right now. It must be one of the people. This isn't a public document. So if Tracer can go 3 or 4 kilometers, and you're using typical 5 gig video, why not just pick Tracer? Who needs all the long range mode, short range mode? Just freaking get Tracer and just be done with. Certainly an argument to be made there. And then the final argument would be that if you need the maximum possible range, Crossfire is arguably the clear winner, because Crossfire at 900 megahertz and 2 watts is always going to beat Ghost. Even in Ghost's long-range mode, I feel like Crossfire is going to win. But it's going to be the difference between 60 kilometers and 100 kilometers. Again, it could be no one's going to care. There's a lot of people out there still using Crossfire, but I feel like Crossfire is going to become less popular as time goes on because the advantages of 2.4 gigahertz control, like Ghost and Tracer, smaller antennas, faster update rates, I think people are going to feel there's advantages there, and I think the range of those two systems is going to be more than most people need. So I haven't answered your question, though. Which should a person just getting into the hobby get? I don't think there is a clear answer, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a clear answer. I don't think one is definitively better for a person to get. Ghost is relatively new. Crossfire is a very, very safe bet. You wouldn't go wrong with Crossfire. Crossfire is very well established, and bug-free and long range. But could Crossfire be on the way out as 2.4 gig control systems, high performance 2.4 gig control systems become more prominent? So would you be sort of investing in something on the way out? I've heard some people say Tracer, when you run it at 1 watt, yeah, you get good range, but geez, it gets hot. And you get buzzing from your speaker. And it's like, you're getting good range, but geez, you're really cranking it. Sawhill FPV says, crap, I'm just getting on my quad, switched over to Crossfire. I don't think you're making a mistake, Sawhill. Crossfire it's fine, especially if you fly by yourself. One of the biggest advantages of the 2.4 gig systems is that you can fly with a lot of other pilots without interference, whereas with Crossfire, when you start getting 4 or 6 pilots in the same place, especially if you're in Europe with the 868 band, which is narrower, you start to get interference. If you're a racer, if you're gonna focus a lot on racing, I would steer you towards Tracer or Ghost. I would actively steer you away from Crossfire. If you're a casual pilot, I think any of them probably will be good. Yeah. It does seem to me like Ghost feels very compelling because you have the option to choose what you're going to use at any given time. So with Ghost, you're going to go to a race and you want to try pure race mode, put it in pure race mode. You're going to fly at a normal place and you want a little more range, put it in normal mode. You can choose. Tracer, you don't have the choice. And some people will feel like having to crank Tracer up to 1 watt and suck your controller battery down. And like, even if it does get 4 kilometers of range, you're having to give up too much to get it. So the only reason I don't say, so Ghost is the answer, is that Ghost is so new, and the Crossfire ecosystem is so mature and so well established, and that has to count for a lot. So there you go. Why does R9 even exist? Good question, Ethan Daly. All right, that's all we're going to say about that. I don't have a perfect answer for you. Crossfire is fine, says Gregory Hurst. Crossfire is fine, except at big events where many people report micro fail-safes. Yes, exactly. If you only ever fly by yourself or maybe with 1 or 2 other friends, then Crossfire is a great solution. The antennas are a little big, which is annoying, but it's basically a perfect system. You give essentially infinite range, more than you'd ever need for most people. It's very mature. It's very bug-free. It works very, very well. Yeah. Yep. Julder is the only one not bothered by Crossfire's antenna size. Yep. Crossfire is very good. It's just that there are these advantages of the 2.4 gig systems. Smaller antennas, less interference, and some people are feeling like that's the way to go. Anyway, let's move on. Archimedes says, I'm planning to design an alternate back cover for Tracer and Crossfire to improve cooling. Yeah. There's an argument that I talked to Tony Cake. I said, I'm going to be straight with you guys. Just you guys here on the live stream. Don't tell anybody I said this. I said, Tony, Ghost is good, but Ghost is outputting 350 milliwatts max. And Tony had said previously that the amplifier on the Ghost chip couldn't go over 350 milliwatts. So this idea that, well, maybe Ghost will like release a firmware update to increase its output power later. Not going to happen. That's just not possible, according to Emergent RC. And I said to Tony, I said, look, if Tracer releases a firmware update that updates it to 1 watt, it doesn't matter. All the arguments that you're going to make to say why it doesn't, why that's not, why you're still better, no one's going to care because everybody's just going to see 1 watt and go, ah! I said, can you release a version of Ghost that's going to go up to 1 watt? And he's like, it's not necessary. And I'm like, you could tell me that and I could believe you, but people who are buying are not going to care about your argument that it's not necessary. And his argument is that cranking Tracer at high output power is actually kind of worse. You're creating more interference. You're creating more noise in the band. And it's just making, his goal is to have a clean control link. And his argument is that having lower output power, you can get cleaner control link, even though your range is less. And that's why Ghost has the 250 hertz LoRa mode, which has no telemetry, but delivers 250 hertz with better range and less interference, and a 250 hertz FLRC mode, which is what Tracer's doing, which is bidirectional with telemetry, but needs a lot more output power to get the range there. And he's like, just pick whichever one you want. I don't know how you would test that, though. Like looking for micro failsafes? I think it's very difficult. Tech Time says, what do you mean? Crossfire has micro T antennas. Yeah, but they're crap. The Crossfire micro T antennas have terrible range. Terrible range. Like terrible range. I fail-safed. I was racing a tiny trainer, locked at 150 hertz on Crossfire, and I didn't even get to the first turn of the race, 100 meters away, and it fail-safed. I mean, some are probably better than others. The micro 900 mega antennas are terrible. So, I think there's a chance that Tony and Emergent RC is right. That a consistent control link with less little drop packets and micro failsafes is better. But all anybody cares about when they are shopping is output power and kilometers of range and packet update rate. People just don't look deeper than that. And I think Emergent RC is going to have a hard time making a case that they're better, even though their paper numerical numbers are worse in some ways. Anyway. What? Oh. Apparently. Oh, I see. I see. I got it. How do I delete the link? I showed the link on stream. I see. Well, there you go. Now I've changed it. I see. You could just read the URL to that document and then edit the document. That's cute. Yeah, I see. That's just the URL. Nice. I was like, I didn't give anybody the link, so I don't know how they're editing the document. Adorable. Well, if anybody wants to frickin' fill in the data, go right ahead. Yeah, sure. I don't care. Hang on. No, screw it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go ahead. Just track changes. Fine. Yeah, edit the document. Do my work for me. Be my guest. Oh my goodness. So many people salty in the comments. Armed student. I bet most of you are offended by my name, and that's why you're not answering my question. There's a famous quote by, I don't know who it's by. She said, I don't think badly of you. I don't think of you at all. Armed student, I haven't even noticed that you exist. I mean, I've noticed now. You're not getting an answer because there's 750 people in the chat, and I can't answer all your questions. If you want me to answer your question, leave a super chat, and I will answer your question. Otherwise, I mean, I will also answer your question if I happen to notice it, but the odds of that are lower. 907 FPV, the TBS Tracer update is ludicrous power. Archimedes in the Discord, I changed it back. Archimedes, I changed it back. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Bannister Post says, speaking of Crossfire, I have a bunch of Nano RX working, but I can't get my Diversity Nano to work. Bannister, the reason for that is that the Nano Diversity comes set to PWM output instead of Crossfire output. Go into the Crossfire receiver menu and change IO1 to Crossfire TX and IO2 to Crossfire RX. The Nano RX comes with that pre-configured. The Nano Diversity does not. So many people are just assume that their Nano Diversity isn't working. And it's, I don't know why they did that. It's annoying. Yep, that's the fix. I should make a video just about that. We're going to get some more super chats out of the way. Ghost Branch FPV, thanks for €5. Did anybody ask yet what you're drinking today? It's just a Diet Coke. It's nothing fancy. I drink Diet Cokes on stream when I don't have time to prepare a drink before stream. Martian McFly, love from the UK. Thank you for £2.50. GepRC Synago HD keeps disarming when it turns on its side 3 out of 5 times. Replaced motors, rechecked, resoldered joints. Haven't replaced the Caddx Vista yet. Thank you, Tim M, for $10. Tim, whenever it disarms, does it show anything in the OSD, like an arming status code, like runaway, box failsafe, you know, whatever, RX loss? That would be the first thing I would check. And that information will steer us toward the solution. Tim, I appreciate your super chat. This is one we're going to need to work on. Can you email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com, so we can dig into this a little deeper? Because there's just not enough information in the super chat to tell you. The next thing we need to know is the arming status. Why is new in how is DJI doesn't show errors warnings? Yes, that sucks. DJI, please show the warning element. It's essential. Synago HD, is that using DJI? Crap. It sucks, man. Caddx Flip. I don't know. That sucks. That sucks that you can't get warnings. That's going to be so hard to troubleshoot. There's also a beep code. So the beeper would also tell us if you don't have an OSD. So if you have a buzzer and like a high def recording, like a GoPro, we could hear the beep. That would be the next place I would go, Tim. But we got to get the arming status code that will tell us why it disarmed before we proceed. Ghost Branch says I only read half. Is it a Ghost Branch? I'm not going to read that. Give me a break. Give me a break. Ghost Branch wants to know if I'm drinking a cider. There's a part of his favorite brand of cider is by Dickens. Ghost Branch really loves a Dickens cider. He also says his girlfriend loves a Dickens cider. Technically, I did read your super chat, Ghost Branch. Julian S, thanks for €20. I got a €50 gift card for Christmas. Now I know what to do with it. Thank you very much. That's Julder in the Discord. Julian, thank you for another $1. Cyclimbo, can you make the sound of a quad crashing into drums? Thank you for $2. Cyclimbo. James M, thank you for 20 Canadian dollars, 20.99. Your review of the Diatone Roma F5 was great, but it focused on analog. Yeah, I mean, I can only review what they sent me. So many of my reviews, I have the DJI version, and people say, why don't you review the analog version? So I thought this time I would throw the analog guys a bone. Because you talk a little about how you think the DJI version would stack up to the Sedora. So the DJI version of the Roma does not come with the F7 flight controller, which is disappointing. And it doesn't have that Wi-Fi either. I don't know why. It's so annoying when they put different electronics in different versions. Because I review the analog version. It's got a great F7 flight controller with Wi-Fi SpeedyB built in. And I'm like, yeah, this is nice. And then they're like, oh, it doesn't come on the DJI version. Sorry. You just have to do a whole separate review. The pros of the Roma F5, like being its lighter weight and so forth, I think are going to be the same. I would compare the weight. I do think the Sedora is a little more durable, but a little heavier. Obviously, I think the Sedora flies great. The Roma also flies great. But I think some of the advantages of the Roma start to go away if you don't have that upgraded flight controller, which was one of the big things I liked about it. The camera, obviously, I liked. But again, if you're using Caddx Vista, you're not using the camera. You're using the Vista camera, which is fine. I feel like for the DJI version, I probably would lean towards the Caddx. I know that the Nazgul V2. I know that the iFlight Quad flies great despite its slightly heavier weight. The analog version is about 40 grams heavier. 40 grams is not nothing, but I know that it flies really well. And it's a little more durable. The big advantage of the Roma, it's lighter. And I like the electronics on it a little better. I would probably lean towards the Nazgul for the DJI version. Chasing FPV says the Sedora has weak arms. I mean, anytime you have those thin arms with a lighter weight quad, lighter weight frame, then you're going to compromise some durability. I have broken arms on the Sedora. Eventually, if you crash hard enough, something breaks. And the arm is a good place to break because then you don't have to take the whole quad apart to replace the bottom plate. So a lot of people would argue that if you're going to build a quad that is lighter, it's better to let the arms break. Obviously, there's a point of you don't want the arms to just be paper thin. I feel like the Sedora is more durable than the Roma. I think the arms especially are a little more durable. But I've crashed the crap out of my Sedora, even in like car parks and urban environments, not just in my grass field. And I did break it like doing a building dive. I crashed in a building dive and fell from 100 feet, and I broke an arm, and I was like, okay, that's fair play. But overall, I've crashed the crap out of the Sedora frame. And thought that the durability was more than sufficient compared to... I mean, if you compare the Sedora frame to something like the Bandolero, which is a monstrously heavy frame. That's Jeff Orta's Vortex's frame, the BQE Bandolero. This frame is just a thick boy. That's a thick boy frame. What's the weight? I mean, just look at how thick the bottom plate is. Like a 5mm bottom plate. And it weighs, it's not going to tell me the weight. F you. It doesn't weigh, no. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. Come on. Tell me the weight. Shut up! Tell me how much it weighs! Why would you not include this information on your product page? Oh, hallelujah! 142 grams, 166 grams for the full version. So, like, yeah, okay, there's a thick boy. You ain't gonna break an arm on this boy. You ain't gonna break a damn thing on this, but it weighs 166 grams, whereas the Sedora is down around, I don't know, 110 maybe. I'm guessing. I don't have the number in front of me, and I'm not gonna look it up. So you're getting another 30 to 50 grams to get the additional durability, and you just decide if it's worth it for you. But I wouldn't say that the Sedora frame is particularly fragile. Thank you, Christopher Little, for a $5 super chat. Are you planning on reviewing the Jumper T Light? Yes, I am. I received them in the mail just like Thursday. I got to decide where it's going to fit on my calendar. Mr. Row Dog, thanks for a $10 super chat. Probably a hard question, but somebody looking into getting their first Crossfire Tracer Ghost system or setup, what would you recommend? Oh, I think I already answered that. I just spent like 15 minutes answering that question, Mr. Row Dog. So I'm going to ask you to go back in the DVR and watch. I appreciate your super chat, but I'm not going to subject everyone to all of that discussion all again. So thank you so much for your donation. Matthew Stanton, 2,500 CLP. I don't know how much that is in USD, but I'm going to assume it's a lot, and I appreciate your incredibly generous donation. Oh, no, wait, it's a green super chat. Never mind. So thank you for your donation. Does the QAVS Vista with DJI Cam fit in a GEP-RC Mark IV? Yes. Yes. Any frame pretty much with a 20mm stack mounting in the back, the QAVS Vista with DJI Cam will fit. I guess the other question is, the Vista Cam is slightly wider. It's like a 0.5 millimeter wider than a standard micro cam. Most frames, even if they're sized for a 19mm micro cam, you can still squeeze the QAVS Vista Cam in. Or if you need to, just use a 3D printed holder instead of the frames holder. But I'm 99% sure it will. The only thing I would do, Matthew Stanton, is you can order the QAVS Vista with like an 8cm or a 12cm camera cable. And if I'm not sure, like the Mark IV is a little bit of a long frame, I would order it with the 12cm camera cable just in case. But I'm 99% sure it'll fit. Carlos Botros, thanks for $5. If you ain't subbed to JB's Patreon, what the heck are you doing? Is the Super G the best? Super G, Roma, F5, and the Bando Killer. What's the best frame for 5-inch? The Super G 399, the Roma F5, or the Bando Killer? What's the Bando Killer frame? I don't know that one. Lethal Conception Bando Killer. So a frame with a name like Bando Killer makes me think that it is built to be a little beefier. Again, I can't find the weight. It's going to be in here somewhere, I'm sure. 125 grams. That's not ridiculous. It's a little heavier than the Super G, I think, and the Roma for sure. The Roma is lighter and less durable. I feel like if you're looking at a 125-gram frame like this, then I'm not sure why you're asking also about the Roma. Because it feels to me like somebody who wants to build a quad with a 125-gram frame probably isn't going to like a 110-gram frame. What's the actual weight on the Roma? I think it's around 110. And I feel like they're just in a different category. I know it's only 10 or 15 grams, but it makes a big difference in the amount of carbon and the durability. The Project 399 Super G is a solid frame. It's solid. A lot of people seem to like it. It seems pretty basic to me. I probably shouldn't hate on it for that, but it doesn't like inspire me. I don't think you would be making a mistake to get it. At the same time, does it only have 20mm mounting? Surely not. It's just showing it's not bad, but like it doesn't like make me go, oh yeah, it was really impressive. It's pretty basic. I mean, I think the Roma is a fine frame. I think the Roma would not be my pick looking for a freestyle frame in the 110-ish gram range. I am actually, this is another question somebody asked, what's going on with your frame roundup? So right now, the frame that I am the most excited about is the Lumineer QAVS. I'm super psyched. I mean, I just think it looks, I know this shouldn't matter, but I think it looks kind of nice. And it kind of matters. I kind of like the look of it. It's got a reasonable amount of space on the inside to build with. It's reasonably roomy. It has a flat deck, which I like having this room on the inside be uninterrupted. And I especially like if they're going to, I don't know if they're going to show this in the pictures. Yeah, I like that the arms almost completely don't have any screw holes through them. I feel like a lot of times you would see a screw hole like right here, and that would severely compromise the durability of the arms. But Ryan Harrell, the frame designer, figured out a way to put these arms together. Single screw arm change, but no screw hole through the arms. It's super clever. What I dislike about it is that it's got a split top deck. And so I am talking to them about maybe doing a version with them where I make a couple changes, including a solid top plate. And that may be the frame I'm leaning towards. Some people like the split top. I mean, it's there for a reason, but I'm not really that interested in the reason. It adds another standoff, which adds 3 grams maybe. It adds a whole new standoff. And the point of that split top deck is that you can change your HD cam quickly. But it's not something that really appeals to me. I'd rather have a solid top plate. Why the hole at the tip of the QAVS arm? Good question. Guard rotor in the Discord. I think. I mean, is that a prop nut size hole? I think it is. So in theory, you could use a spare arm as a prop tool. In which case, that's kind of cool. It can also be used. Some people like to have their motor wires run on the underside of the arm. So they'll have their motor wires face out and they'll fold them under through a hole like this and back under the arm. I don't think a lot of people do that, but that is one reason why they used to do that. People in the chat, including Joski FPV, are pointing out the Johnny FPV version of the QAVS has a solid top plate. That is true, but the Johnny version is extended to fit the air unit and is another 10 or 15 grams heavier. I don't know the actual difference. So I'm not, I wouldn't go with the Johnny unit because my whole point is I want something to be lighter. So basically, and I said to them, I said, can the Johnny top plate fit on the QAVS? Because we could just do that. And they were like, no, the dimensions aren't the same. The Johnny version is longer. I really like the geometry on this frame. To me, this feels like an ideal freestyle frame geometry. Is it a pure X? It looks like it's just it might be a pure X. But the front motors are they're just barely in front of the camera. You probably could see the props a little bit. Yeah. Siadi, what frame are you talking about? Marcos. Siadi says, my friends who are running them, who switched to them from the Glide are switching back because they're fed up with the hardware breaking. What frame are you talking about? You and Marcos. Do you like the Apex? Or they're talking about the Apex. Siadi, people are saying the Apex hardware is breaking? That's kind of shocking, dude. It's kind of shocking. Apex is pretty premium. Thank you, Anil Kumar G, for 1,000 rupees. Is Diatone GTR 369 good for beginners? Anil, the 349. The 369 and the 349 are both extremely good, but I reviewed the 369, and very, very soon after I got it, I crashed it, and the ESC died. And that left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. It flew great. And what I said in my review of the 369 was that I think you should get the 349. Because my gut feeling is that on 4S voltage, the ESC will be more reliable. See what I mean? Lower voltage means, because they're probably, I mean, I would guess they're using the same ESC on the 4S and the 6S version. So if you've got a 30 volt rated or a 35 volt, I don't know, whatever the rating on the FET is, if you're running it at 6S, you're closer to the limit and you're more likely to kill it with a voltage spike. However, I have in the past said, oh yeah, if you're a beginner, get a 3-inch quad, maybe the Diatone GT349. And some people went, are you crazy? The Diatone GT349 goes like 100 miles an hour. It is not a beginner 3-inch. So maybe use a throttle curve to like make it less powerful. I do think the GTR 349, the 369 is good too, but the fact that mine died really quickly left a bad taste in my mouth. Shazam Witch. Getting some Wall Street bets action up in here. So Shazam Witch says, Doge to the moon. By the way, hey, all you people out there in the news media, it's Dogecoin. It's not Doggy Coin. It's not Doggy Coin. It's Dogecoin. CNN, CNBC, Bloomberg. Stop saying Dogie. Please do your research. It's Dogecoin. Dogecoin to the moon. I don't know about that. I think I'm feeling like maybe. Hold on. Let me get the 1 week. I'm feeling like the Doge rocket failed to take off, folks. Yeah, oops. Doge to the moon. Oh. Rocket fell back to Earth. Sorry. Andy Cooper says, as someone who runs a Dogecoin site, you are correct. Thank you. I love nothing. Andy, will you marry me? That's all I ask from my I'm already married. Crap. I was about to say my future wife. That's all I ask is that you just say, you're right. You're right about that, honey. The thing is, it's not, you missed the boat. The momentum is gone. It was at 0.2 this morning. Yeah, but it was at 0.8. It was at 0.08 2 days ago. Sorry, that rocket has failed. Anyway. I got a new hot tip. This is the next to the moon, guys. Here's what's going to the moon next. Everybody's saying, Nokia, AMC. This is the next big one. SPY. Let's pump SPY. SPY going to the moon, guys. Oh, yeah. That's what kind of investor I am. Target retirement 2045. To the moon. This is not financial advice. I just like the stock. The SPY is the S&P 500 index fund. That's not. All right. Moving on. Kali Drone Killer, thank you for a $20 super chat. I got to fly my Nazgul and Sedora yesterday. My first time flying 6S, and I love it. That's awesome, Kali Drone Killer. 6S definitely does have a great feel. Just be real careful there because if you're used to flying 4S and you switch to 6S and you don't pay attention to your battery voltage, then you're going to kill batteries, because 6S, you don't feel the sag until it's like dead. And then suddenly you're falling out of the sky. So, definitely. Mike Bergman says, let's short Red Cat holdings. The problem with shorting Red Cat, the problem with shorting Red Cat is that it's not very high. So, how you're not going to make very much on the short. I mean, it's up since January. When did Rotoride actually buy Red Cat? Or Red Cat actually... When did Red Cat go public? No, that's their NASDAQ. December 15th, 2020. So Red Cat went public via a reverse merger. Some people are looking at the Red Cat stock and going, oh, look how terrible Red Cat's doing. But this stuff here is all another company. Red Cat actually this stock became Red Cat as we know it in December 2020. So Red Cat is actually up. Wow. Red Cat's actually doing pretty good. So basically year to date. But I don't know. You get a short of $5 stock. Seems risky. I don't know. This is not financial advice. Continuing. Chris Shan, thanks for £5. Can you do a video about head tracking using static cameras, like the Spectrum system using the Teleporter V4? Probably not. What is this technology? Using static cameras. Fat Shark Teleport. This is not head tracking. This is just FPV. This stuff is super digital head tracking. Oh. Digital head tracking. That's slick. I've wanted this for a while. Yeah, you have a camera with like a 180-degree lens, and then you do digital tracking instead of a gimbal. That is pretty slick, but head tracking as a if you're going to do head tracking, that's a really cool way to do it, because the gimbal is super fragile and heavy. But nobody in my arena of FPV really does head tracking. Like drone racing and freestyle just aren't doing head tracking. So I'm probably not going to make a video about that. Jade and Jerry, I do not own any Dogecoin. Doge is not going to the moon, I'm afraid. Juraj Mitosinka, I'm looking to upgrade my toothpick. Would you say the XM Plus for the Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle is a good choice, or do you have any other recommendation? XM Plus is fine. Has good range. It's what a lot of people with smaller quads use. Some people would go Crossfire. I mean, I assume you're thinking FreeSky. If you have one of the Access radios, the FreeSky Archer receivers are the way to go. Matthew Tetro, thank you for a $5 super chat. All signals communicate in beta flight, and yet BL Heli only gets 3 beeps. 5 beeps when I have a battery connected both times. Hang on. When do you get 3 beeps and when do you get 5 beeps? Matthew, you're saying sometimes you get 3 beeps and sometimes you get 5 beeps. Like, if you're only getting 3 beeps, I would check, is the flight controller powered up? Sometimes people will only get 3 beeps from the battery, but 5 beeps when the flight controller is plugged into USB. It means the flight controller is not powered up from the battery. Matthew, please email me and let's dig into it a little more. We need to figure out, like, when are you getting 3 beeps and when are you getting 5 beeps? David06 in the YouTube chat asks, why does my Nazgul 5 sound weird sometimes? I also messaged you on Instagram regarding this. I mean, David, unfortunately, just it sounds weird sometimes is not really actionable information. The best thing to do would be to record a video of the weird sound and then listen to it. Brett Cousins says Dogecoin is up 350% in 7 days. That's true, but I mean, when you say to the moon, probably the problem with to the moon, right, is that you need to catch the peak. It was at, 0.0000001 cents or whatever, and now it's at 0.02, but it was at 0.08. So I think the rocket has already peaked. Or what do I know? GME. I bought 1 share of GME. Just my wife said to me, "Can we buy stocks?" I was like, I don't know. I guess I have a 401k from my old job. I have a Vanguard account. I guess we could probably buy stocks on Vanguard. She's like, I want a GME. I'm like, why do you want a GME? Because it was like Friday afternoon and GME was already at whatever 300. I was like, it's kind of you kind of missed the boat. We needed to get in when it was at 4 or 10. Now it's at 300. She's like, I just want to feel like I'm a part of it. That's not her exact words. So I was like, okay. I bought one share of GME, and now she's like following the news. She's like, "Oh, did you hear? They're trying a short ladder." So, MRMJB FPV asks, would a SMA connector that touches the metal on my quad cause interference? It's possible. Anytime the SMA connector touches anything that is grounded, most usually the carbon fiber of the frame, you can get interference because of a ground loop. So that is possible. The way to test that is to isolate it. Thank you very much to Ghost Branch, who's helping somebody out in the chat, in the Discord, with a board alignment problem. Huff19 wants to know, do you have any thoughts on motor timing in BL Heli? Ryan Harrell suggests moving from 16 to 23. Is this still a good value? Yeah, I don't think anything's changed there, Huff19. I don't think anything's changed there. Stupid NPC says, first everyone was an expert on viruses with the coronavirus. Now everyone's an expert on stonks. I mean, you say that, but as near as I can tell, the beautiful people over at Wall Street Bets have got this hedge fund by the balls. So at least some of these people seem to know what they're doing. And then everybody else is like, stonks! And is trying to get in. I agree that there's a whole lot of people who don't know what they're talking about, who have suddenly taken a great interest in stonks. But some people out there seem to know what they're doing. We'll see. Experimental RC says, do jumper radios add anything to the quad when you bind it? After I bound a couple to my jumper radio, the rates feel super high. No. The radio can't add anything to the quad. If you bind the radio, the flight controller config doesn't change at all. The endpoints of the radio are going to affect how the rates feel. So check your endpoints and make sure your endpoints are correct. That's what I would do. Let's see here. Thank you, Ben T, for a $5 super chat. GameStop needs to start carrying drone parts in their brick and mortar stores. I think it's really hilarious that this whole thing has happened with GameStop. And by the way, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just Google GameStop and catch up. Because GameStop is a company that, I mean, as I'm a nerd. I've played a lot of video games in my life. And I remember going into GameStop and sitting at the demo stand and playing games in the mall. Like when I was a kid, going to the mall and going to the GameStop and playing games on the demo units and looking around at video games and stuff, you know? And I understand that in this day and age of digital delivery, maybe there's GameStop also like would completely rip you off on your trade-ins. And there's people who are a little salty about GameStop for some reasons. But I have generally positive feelings about GameStop. So the idea that this epic fight over the, whatever, $20 billion in losses to the hedge funds and this crazy thing that's happening is all centered around this brick and mortar store is kind of interesting to me. Yeah. Imagine going to a mall, says David Gregorian. Yeah, someday. It's my live stream. We'll talk about whatever I want, I guess. I got a little mad about it because, like, I'm not a financial expert, and people tell me, well, there's reasons why short selling is important in the market because it provides a balance. The ability to short sell is an important feature of a market. Of a financial market. And they probably are right. They know they're experts and I'm not. But like, GameStop is a company that employs people, real people, who need jobs to pay rent and buy food. And then this hedge fund comes along and goes, you know what? F these guys. Let's make a couple $1 billion driving them out of business. It's not just like they're doing some weird financial market stuff. They're literally just trying to drive this company out of business. And don't think that short sellers are just like, oh, we're just going to bet that this company goes out of business. No, they try to make the company go out of business by going on the news and by, issuing statements and etc. So you think about it that way, it seems a little unsavory. It's one thing to just bet that you think something is going to happen. I think this company is going to go out of business. Let's see if I'm right. And it's another thing to try to make that happen, because you're putting a whole bunch of people out of work who need jobs more than ever in this day and age. So, kind of shitty. I don't think short sellers are nice people. I'm going to go on record. I don't think short sellers are nice people. Maybe Elon Musk was right all this time. Anyway. Paul Appleton, thank you for £5. I need help deciding between getting Crossfire or Tracer and what frame to do a new build on. Between Crossfire and Tracer, I feel like the typical pilot is probably going to be most happy with Crossfire, because I think a typical pilot is going to be okay with Crossfire's 150 hertz update rate or even the normal 50 hertz update rate. A typical pilot is not going to be highly latency sensitive, and the range of Crossfire is unparalleled. As far as what frame to get, I have a video I just did looking at lightweight freestyle frames. I'll put it in the chat, and you can check it out. If you're like a rank beginner, you might want to go for a heavier frame that's a little more durable, but that's some thoughts about frames. I'll say one more thing. I'm going to say one more thing. I've been thinking about this a lot this week. A while back on my stream, somebody said, buy such and such a stock. I don't think it was GameStop. Aaron Roseberry says, I was saying buy GameStop on this stream the last 2 Sundays. Aaron, if this was you, then I owe you an apology. I don't know if it was GameStop or not. But what I said in response to that was that the ability to time the market requires proprietary information that you don't have. And so the thought that you could beat the big banks as just a retail investor was hubris or ignorance. And I still think that's mostly true. Most people who are day trading are probably losing money, and they think they know things, and they think they see patterns that are not there. And I think if this GameStop thing has shown us anything, it's that my assertion that the market is being driven by forces that you have no visibility of is true. These guys are all manipulating the market. And so for you as a retail investor to go, I'm going to look at this stock chart. Oh, it looks like it's going up. I need to buy, whatever. I feel like you don't even know the moves that are being made. But clearly I was at least a little bit wrong. Sorry. Take a minute there. Clearly I was at least a little bit wrong, because here we absolutely have a case where retail investors used information that was available to the public to completely squeeze the gonads of a giant bank. And I love it. So I need to, whoever it was I was talking to and that I said that, I need to at least a little bit walk it back, because clearly I was wrong. At least a little bit. Is painting or adding vinyl to a drone cause an issue? So asks Devils. I don't see why not. Aerial Master says, I'm not here to hear about the GameStop situation. It's my live stream. I'll talk about whatever I want. It's my live stream. I'll talk about whatever I want. It's my live stream. I'll talk about whatever I want. Hang on a second. I have something I want to show you. Hold on. Where? Hang on one second. I need to find... oh, it's going to take me... I have so many TikToks to scroll through before I find this one that I'm looking for. I know I hearted it, though. Oh, I may not be able to find it. It's so relevant to this moment, though. I really feel like I've passed it. Oh, I know. I bookmarked it as my favorite. Yeah. Where are my bookmarked ones? Me. Okay. I can't find my bookmarked ones. I'm so bad at this. Oh, well. I really wanted to show you guys this, too. Okay, well, never mind then. It's not a heart. It's different. Add to favorites. Yeah, but where is it? Boomer tries... I'm not a boomer, technically. Boomer tries to use TikTok on stream. Yeah, but where are they? How to see my favorites. There you go. That's what I need. Thank you, Cora. Yeah, but where? Tap on the profile icon in the navigation bar. Where is that? Oh, there it is. I need to swipe down. There we go. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is what I have to say. You didn't come here to hear about GME.
How will I live? I really care about your opinion. It's very important to me. I really make a habit of taking on all advice, even if it goes contrary to reality. It's very important to continuously sabotage myself in this way. It gives me my special glow. I'm taking everything you said and putting it in this special cupboard of things I don't give a fuck about. All I hear when you say things like this is... I'm very uninteresting, and that's something I really enjoy about myself. And that's something I really enjoy about you, too.
Every time somebody says something derogatory about my content, I think of her. Every time I found that TikTok and I was like, I am favoriting this and I'm going to watch it every morning before I read my comments. I really care about what you say. I'm taking everything you're telling me and writing it down in this notebook of things I don't give a fuck about. Okay. I love her. I love her. I'm taking... Oh, shit. I love her so much. Okay. That was totally worth like 2 minutes of me just flipping through my phone trying to find it. No, my comments aren't that negative. They're not that negative. I feel like I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry you didn't. Oh, don't worry if you didn't like the content. We'll get back to something good later. Don't worry. And she's like, oh, screw you. Maybe I need to be more like her. Yannick D, thanks for 5 CHF, 5 Swiss francs. What do you think about the Caddx Orca versus the Runcam 5? I think the Runcam 5 is better. Long story short. Shion Enomoto, thanks for $2. Is the Radix supposed to have a 3.2K PID loop? Yes, the Radix uses a Bosch gyro. It is different than the InvenSense gyro that most other FCs use, and it's locked to a 3.2K PID loop, but don't freak out. That doesn't mean it performs worse. That just means it's a 3.2K PID loop. I do actually care. I do actually care very much about comments, and I take feedback maybe a little too heavily. And so that's why that lady needs to be my spirit animal, to try and sort of balance out my neuroticism about negative feedback. Paul Appleton, thank you for £5. What would your recommendation be for a good flight controller or ESC stack to use? Check out my website, Paul, www.fpvknowitall.com, where I have all my product recommendations. Drew is in the house. Drew says he needs that TikTok. I'll send it to you, Drew. Scarecrew FPV, thanks for $2. Thank you very much. Are you going to give sub 255 5-inch another try? Asks Sir Clean FPV. I feel like sub 255 inch, you give up too much in durability to get under the weight. Like, oh my God. Tommy Tabahia says he's got a sub 255 inch that's worth flying. Like, if a designer like Tommy Tabahia or Catalyst Machine Works said they built a sub 255 inch that flew great and was durable, I would at least give it a try. But I'm not trying any more sub 255 inches like from Beta FPV, Happy Model, etc. I'm not trying to put those manufacturers down. They have their place. They make some good stuff. But sub 255 inch is very, very difficult to get right. And I have not seen anybody get it right. And I'm not going to spend more time being disappointed. But I've had my heart broke, I guess is what I'm saying. But for Catalyst Machine Works or Oh My God or a frame designer like that, I would take a chance again on Love with sub 255 inch. Ghost Branch wants to know if you're going to play Among Us with us after the stream. Drib says that he and Sean have a sub 255 inch in the works. Oh, then he retracted that message. Too late. I saw it. If Drew and Sean came up with one, I would give it a try. Oh, there we go. He changed it again, but same thing. I've just seen too many of them, and they fly okay, but then the minute you crash them, they're junk. And by going to a 4-inch, you get a smaller frame, you get more durability, and I think you just get better. Is there a better material than carbon fiber? Asks Gregory Hurst. Graphene? I don't know about that. Carbon fiber is pretty freaking good. Photo Video Ariel wants to know, what would cause one RXSR to have less range than another? I get RF signal low after about 100 yards. Would a flight controller fault cause the issue? I've changed the RXSR once. Flight controller cannot cause RF signal low. RF signal low is entirely between the receiver and the controller. So no, flight controller fault would not cause that. There's just no way. Maybe it has to do with your antenna mounting on the quad. That's possible. Drew's getting ready to go fly. I kind of figured he was going to say that. He always flies Sunday afternoon. That's why he doesn't play Among Us with us. Yeah, Adam Victor, I agree. If the limit was 300 or 350 grams instead of 250 grams, then it would be a little better. 250 is very difficult to get under for a 5-inch. You definitely need to be using 4-in-1 ESCs to get sub 250, so that means that Drew is out. He is a big fan of individual ESCs. Do you think lipos will improve in the next 5 years, or maybe even a new battery type? Asks Sir Clean FPV. Sir Clean FPV, I think that there is a huge amount of interest right now in improved battery technology. Interest for electric vehicles, mostly, I think, is where the interest is coming from. Also, there's developments for home solar systems. Home solar systems were often paired with battery backups, and there are some new chemistries coming out that really work well in that application. However, I am hesitant, I'm skeptical that many of those advances will help us in the FPV world, because if you think about what does an electronic vehicle need from its batteries, the batteries in like a Tesla are not actually very high C rate, because yes, a Tesla pulls huge amounts of current, maybe, I don't know, hundreds of amps, let's say. I'm just guessing. But it has a massive battery pack. So the C rate of the batteries doesn't need to be very big. So the engineering priorities for a Tesla or an electronic vehicle battery pack are high energy density. You want as many milliamp hours as you can get, or as many watt hours as you can get with as little weight as you can get. And stability, right? You want the packs to be safe. You want long lasting. You don't want them to be very temperature sensitive. You don't want them to, if they get too hot, to suddenly start dying. Whereas with quadcopters, we want the most amount of current, the most amount of power in the least amount of weight. And that's just not a priority for a lot of these other applications, because they care about weight, but they don't care about 10 grams. So it seems to me like the advancement, the place that we're seeing these packs going, is not in a direction that will directly benefit FPV and RC pilots. You never know. If you look at cell phone batteries, again, they're very concerned with energy density, energy per unit size, because they want very small, thin cells. And they're concerned with charging speed. So they want the ability to fast charge without the pack blowing up. But neither of those are a real big concern for us in FPV. We do care a little bit about energy density, because we would like to get, if you had a 1,000 milliamp hour pack and one of them was 15 grams lighter than the other, and they had the same performance, that would be a big deal. You could either go with the same weight but a bigger pack, or you could save yourself a little bit of weight. But mostly what we want is C rate. We need to be able to pull 70, 80, 100, 150 amps from a 1,300 milliamp hour pack. And that is just not, there's hardly any other applications where you need that discharge rate. So, Clint Chapman, thank you for a $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on Skadoosh's Roma Down video? Very good point, Clint Chapman. I have a response video that is in the works. David Skadoosh released a video about the Roma F5 where he said that the front end, he believed it was cast aluminum, which is weaker than milled aluminum. And he said that the top plate broke really easily, and he wasn't sure, but he was maybe even a little skeptical that it was carbon. I checked with, so I took it apart. I broke the front end apart. I broke the carbon apart, and I showed the pictures to some people who are experts. And I also asked Diatone. Everyone I've talked to, including Diatone, agrees that the top plate on the Roma is standard 090 weave carbon fiber. That there is no like plastic or foam or any other kind of material. It's just standard carbon fiber. And I looked at the Roma front end, and I agree it looks like cast aluminum. Diatone says it's milled, and that the reason it looks like cast aluminum is that there is a surface treatment like paint. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not paint, but the surface treatment gives it a little bit of a rough surface and hides the milling marks. And Diatone sent me pictures of the milling machine that they say cuts the front end. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. But Diatone swears that the front end is milled, not cast. And so it seems like the claims in Skadoosh's video, to be fair, Skadoosh said, I'm not sure, it seems like maybe. He didn't make any absolute statements, but it seems like the questions that he raised are not true. Now, the big question you could still ask is, Skadoosh is saying that he crashed his Roma and it broke. Well, maybe he was unlucky. Maybe it wasn't his first crash. I mean, Skadoosh said, I've had this other frame and it's been super durable. And then he cuts to a picture of, I guess maybe it's his wife. It's a woman he's with. And she's like throwing it on the ground like on some dirt. And I'm like, that's not, I mean, he was just kind of being silly, but that's not like a durability test. So I don't think that there is a particular durability issue with the Diatone Roma F5. It is, and Diatone says this as well. I said this, and then Diatone said it again and basically agreed with me. It's a lighter weight frame, and you always give up some durability to get a lighter weight frame. It is not going to be as durable as a 130, 125, 140 gram frame. But it's going to fly different too. So, but the carbon fiber is straight carbon fiber, and the front end is supposed to be milled. So I think Skadoosh's Roma Down video specifically has been responded to, or it will be when I release this other video. Ian Rushforth says shot peening is the process. That's possible, Ian. There was a little bit of a language barrier. The Diatone, the person I was talking to at Diatone speaks very good English, but when we started to get into some of the technical terms like milled versus cast, I feel like we ran into a little bit of a language barrier. So he said that there was a surface treatment to the milled part that resulted in the rough texture that makes it kind of look like it's cast. Maybe it was shot peening. It doesn't look like it's shot peen to me. I mean, I know what a shot peen surface looks like, but maybe, bead blasted, who knows. But there's no milling marks on it. And maybe the milling marks have been removed by shot peening or something. Smart FPV says lighter doesn't mean it's less durable. I mean, all else being equal, Smart FPV, less material is going to break sooner. Obviously, if you have an inferior design on a heavier frame, then it can be less durable. Calabrese 221 wants to know, do you know if Runcam, Foxy, or Cadix will be making any 4K stabilized boards that will be on par or close to GoPro in the near future? So what I would say, Calabrese, is there is a project out there right now to use the Betaflight gyro data to stabilize your footage in post, like Real Steady Go. Like literally, you take the Betaflight gyro data, you take this app that they've developed, and it puts the gyro data into the video file so that Real Steady Go can stabilize it. That's pretty slick. So what you would want is post-stabilization rather than relying on Runcam or Foxeer to come up with a stabilization routine that probably isn't going to be as good as Real Steady Go. Smith Casera, what's the status of the DJI Goggles V2? DJI Goggles V2 were released for one day, and then DJI said, whoa, we didn't mean it. Stop. Take them back out of your stores. They are still scheduled to be released at some point in the future. I know the date, but I'm not allowed to say. And nothing. People are seeing the DJI Goggles V2 on some of the stores. They changed the listing, and it just says not available in your region. It's not available in any region. It's not just you. So. It's 3 minutes. Holy crap. It's 3 minutes to the end of the stream. Wow, that went like crazy. Ciati FPV is in the chat, and he's going to be streaming on his channel at 3 p.m. So if you're loving the stream and you can't wait to get some more streaming going on, Ciati will start posting that link, and you can head over there. In fact, Ciati, there's a new feature in YouTube. Yeah, Ciati, give me that link, buddy. Give me that link. There's a new feature in YouTube, Live Redirect. Can I only link to my own videos? Can I only link to my own videos? That sucks. It's only mine. Really? Oh, man, that's a bummer. Your videos. I guess I can only link to my own. Oh, well. Well, I guess we'll just send you guys over to this one. No, I'm not going to do that to Ciati. You need to head over to Ciati's live stream. There, he's going to start posting the link. Yeah, unfortunately, Ciati, I can only link to my own videos, apparently. Let me grab your URL. Let me actually grab your URL. Hello, come on, get that. No, stop. Oh, no, I've done it. I clicked it. Hang on. Is that your studio.youtube.com link, Siati? I think you accidentally posted a studio.youtube.com link. Hang on. Copy link address. So now we're going to go edit, live redirect, select. Can I just put in a URL? No. How about this? No. So apparently I can only do it to my own videos, but I'm not going to. That's a bummer. I will be back. I will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for another live stream. I'm also going to be playing Among Us with my patrons on Discord. In about 15 minutes, I'll be over in the Discord on the Among Us chat. So if anybody out there is a patron and wants to get on that, play some Among Us, we do that on Sunday afternoons. Is there going to be an Air Unit V2, maybe FPV? No, there's no indication that the Air Unit or the Vista are being updated. So they are staying the same. And that should also answer any questions you have about compatibility between the V1 and the V2 goggles. People are saying, can the V2 goggle compatible? The Air Unit and the Vista are the same. So that tells you that the whole experience of using the Air Unit and the Vista is the same between the V1 and the V2 goggles. So, all right, guys. We are going to wrap up. It's 3 p.m. Go check out Aaron Ciati's live stream. And if you are a patron and you're playing Among Us, I will be with you in about 15 minutes. I just will run and take a little potty break and get a refreshment drink and stuff. Thanks, guys, for coming out. Happy flying, everybody. Have a great stream, Ciati. Bye, everybody.